Hi everyone. So, got a quick little lecture. We are going to be working on some more earned media and writing some more. These are some things I want to tighten up. So, over the next couple of slides, I'm going to walk you through some expectations for this next assignment, specifically writing for publications. And we're going to make this really local. We're going to write for the Vanguard. You get to pick any topic, any organization, any feature, any person, and you're going to write 200 to 400 words with the goal of raising awareness, name value, goodwill towards that particular topic and or person and or organization. It needs to be tied to Bentley and the Vanguard because that's your audience. So you now you know who your audience is. You get to choose who your client is. You get to write the story to get published and then build the bridge between the two, creating awareness among the audience for that particular topic or client. So let's go ahead and revisit what we talked about in PR writing, what we talked about a little bit in journalism, and put it all together and do another exercise. Let's get started. All right, so we briefly talked about, and you had an exercise in your visual campaign about writing stories. And so I really want to be clear. This is more journalistic as a lecture than PR writing because some of you have taken PR writing and you've been producing like media alerts and press releases, and that is not this. So you are, as a publicist, trying to garner publications for your client. And so there's a multitude of ways you can do that. One, you can put together an event, and when you put together an event, and the event is driven towards getting journalists and bloggers and influencers to come out to the event, hoping that they then will cover the event on their social media feeds as writing reviews, publishing things on their blogs or their websites, or if you're working directly with journalists from like hard copy outlets to actually write about it, then you get the hit. So you write a press release, you write a media alert, and you send it to those particular entities for them to come to an event, and then they in turn give you earned media. Or, and what we're going to focus on is you then, or you can focus on creating the earned media yourself. In 2025, we often do that in PR. You could put together an entire event, or you can just write the story yourself, submit it for consideration, and get that immediate hit. I would argue you have to do both. I would argue that what we're doing today is a big shift in how publicists are operating. If I am working for a company and I want to get a puff piece written about the actual CEO, I can pitch to see if people want to write the story, or I can get with my client and together rewrite a thought provoking story and then submit it for consideration. You have to do both. So we need to tighten up our skill in doing both. So, right here, I want to give you some different types of pieces that you could write to garner earned media on behalf of a social issue, a client, a student organization, or anything that would be of interest to the Vanguard readers, i.e., Bentley students. So one that's just direct news. You can tell them about a phenomenon that's happening, and then that story highlight why they should read it, why they should care, what the call to action is. Direct news is straight facts, no filler, none of your opinion, but really doing the research to understand what is happening and then writing 200 to 400 words that are going to ideally elevate that narrative. And then below is kind of the opposite. It's editorials or op-eds. That's where you take a social issue, a student org, a piece, something, and you're writing about your opinion about it. Not necessarily fact based, but still newsworthy. So the idea is when you write an opinion piece, you're saying, this is a thing that's going on. Here are my thoughts about it and why you should care. You don't have to agree with my opinion, but I want to engage with you. So let's say I want to write about the Bentley Library. I might do a direct news, the hours, what kind of services, what kind of options they have there. So maybe you tell people how many books are in the collection, that you can reserve rooms for studying, that you can actually check out technology, and that the IT office is there. Those are facts, and that's important for Bentley readers. Or I can do an editorial or an op ed about the library and why it's my favorite place to study and why I think it's central to campus and why it makes so much sense to have the library as a part of your toolkit as a Bentley student. That's an op ed. That's my opinion. Whether or not you agree with it, the story is worth being told. So you have direct news and you have op eds. Those are two examples. Next up, we have features. And so I've described what features are. You can see that on the side, and I'll give you an example of a feature that stars AOC. So a feature is really specifically focused on a person, an organization, an entity, and you are highlighting that narrative. Now, oftentimes, if it's a feature, you actually bring in that entity, that person, and you either interview them and you do a Q&A where you ask a question, they give an answer, and you publish that, or you talk to them about a topic and you bring in quotes. So you can do a feature of a student organization and you will have quotes from members of the student organization. You can do a feature of the president of Bentley and then you would do a sit down interview with the president. And so a feature is explicitly focused on a topic, a social issue, or an entity, and then you bring in folks, ideally they're in some way, shape, or form involved with that topic, that into that organization, and their quotes, their ideas drive the narrative. So you can do direct news, you can do an op-ed, you can do a feature, or you can do one more item as a focus of your story. Let me give that to you. And last but not least is a review. Review feels like an op-ed in the fact that you are reviewing something, an event, a person, an entity, a social issue, and you are putting your own kind of spin or opinion on it. However, oftentimes in that review, you are getting this really blend of straight news, what happened, what took place. So you're giving people a point of reference, and then you're blending your thoughts, your feelings, the op-ed, and then you're also highlighting explicitly what that thing was, a feature. So it's really this kind of like hybrid mashup of everything. So let's say I went to a sorority mixer. I'm going to talk about the fact that the mixer took place at this day, this time, at this location. Those are facts, straight news. And then I'm going to talk about what I did while I was there and how those things made me feel. So I love the music, I love the dress code, I love the theme. That's my opinion about aspects of it. That's kind of an op-ed. And then I'm going to kind of lay out specifically who was there and what happened and what might have been said. That feels more like a feature. So I'm going to actually bring all of that together. And at the very end, whether or not I would go back, whether or not you should go back, should you be involved, should you care, here's how you can learn more. That's the review part. So it really is all encompassing. So if you attended a sports event and you really love going to the arena, then you have to highlight who was playing and what the score was, facts. And then you talk about your experience, an op-ed, your opinion, and then whether or not people should be interested and go to other Bentley games. Again, that's the review. So you can absolutely op-ed, feature, direct news, or review. Here is the thing though. You got to decide. You got to decide. And if you're like, I don't know what I want to word vomit, it may be a review. And that's beautiful. What you can't do though is start with a direct news piece giving me actual facts, tangible facts. And then at the end, tell me how you feel. You're either going to review it and you need to paint the entire picture, or you got to pick one of those entities. That's why it could be hard. That's why I want you to start thinking about it. Start thinking about what social issue, what topic, what student org, what entity you want to write about. And then you think about what format you want. As a matter of fact, let me take you to a slide. We'll walk it out. See, it wasn't too painful. I've given you kind of sort of the tools you need. You can go back and rewatch this video, or you can just screenshot some of the different content and descriptions that are out there. But you got what you need to get started. So let me go ahead and review what I just mentioned. So now you need to identify a subject. Are you going to write about the provost? Are you going to write about a sports event that you went to or a party that you went to? Are you going to write about an entity on campus that excites you? You get to decide, identify your subject. And then you have to decide the type of article. Again, direct news, feature, op-ed, review. And your assignment for today is to give me the subject and the type of article. So put your name on a Word doc and say Bentley Library, direct news, all of the aspects of the library. Upload it. Should be simple, 5 of your 25 points. Once you do that, you're good for me for today. Now you need to start developing the actual piece. So you need to coordinate the execution. That's the next arrow. Do you need to get a quote because it's going to be a feature or a review? You need to get a picture that goes along with your topic because visuals matter. Start to think about these things. Start to put it all together. All you got to do is give me today the subject, and the type of article. But you got to keep working. You're not done yet. The second part isn't due until we come back that Monday, but you got to get it done. If you got to get a quote, email and get that quote. If you need a picture, either go take the picture or find it online. So that's your next step. Now you've updated everything to Brightspace. You've coordinated what you got to do. Time to start drafting. My friends, 200 to 400 words is only one page. Not hard to do. All of you can word vomit one page today. If not today, then Friday or Saturday or Sunday. But the first draft is the worst draft. Get it done and then revise, revise, revise. Remember, concise, clean writing. I don't want to hear this lofty story. I don't want to have a ton of commas. I don't want to have run-on sentences. We got to get better at writing. We got to get better at communicating. This is your opportunity to do that. So you're going to write a story centered on earned media. You're going to promote a social issue, a person, an entity, an organization that you're going to pitch to the vanguard because you want to absolutely establish yourself as a publicist and build out your writing portfolio. Remember, 200 to 400 words. You'd have an appropriate photo. And let me give you a couple of more items before I wrap this up. So sit tight. I got about maybe 60 more seconds. All right, before I let you go, I just want to quickly remind you, quickly, be accurate. Ensure the point of view is credible. That means if it's an op-ed or a review, talk about you. Did you go to the event? Did you experience this thing? What brought you to this? If you're doing a feature, you need a quote from someone else because you're featuring them, or you're featuring a student org, or you're featuring an athlete. Reach out and get a quote and give me the person's name because you want to be accurate and credible. Second, remember, be concise to the point. The whole goal is to get you to write to a general audience and to edit your work so it's clean and concise. That is like 80% of the assignment. Give me a title, give me 200 to 400 words, give me a photo, and then write and clean it up. I want clarity. I don't want complex words. I don't want vagueness. Give me details. Be a good publicist. Understand that in order to build rich relationships, you got to be intentional. You got to be clear. You have to bridge the gap between the client. You get to choose what's the social issue, what's the organization, what's the person, and the reader. Bentley students who are going to pick up the Vanguard. So you should have everything you need to get started. If you have questions, you can absolutely email me. But I am ready for you to start writing. Last but not least, next slide, and then I can close out. I just want to formally say goodbye. I'll see you all on Monday. If you have any questions, you can absolutely email me. I'm still technically working. I'm just on the road with Bentley students doing a Bentley thing. So what's due today? Today by 12:30 is your name, the topic, and the type of article you're going to write. Do not overthink this. The most important thing is words on paper, so you got to get over the hump. So decide, upload it. Now, go to that next step. Go back to the slide if you need to, pause it. Start to put words on paper. Start to think about how you're going to execute this. If it's a review, start to write it. You might need a quote. If it's a feature, you absolutely need a quote or a couple of quotes. If it's direct news, start to get the facts and put them together. 200 words is less than a page. 400 words, about a full page. You got this. But if you have questions, let me know. I will see you all on Monday again. Have a great weekend.